Mansker Creek. How Mansker Creek fits into the Tennessee watershed system and the fossils that lie in its creek beds. Moss Wright Park is one of Tennessee's numerous historical sites featuring Mansker Station. There are also many ball fields and play areas located within the park. The Mansker Creek Restoration Project. According to the Mansker Creek Restoration Project historical exhibit, Mansker Creek watershed straddles the border of Davidson and Sumner County. The watershed is centered on the city of Goodlettsville and also encompasses parts of Nashville, Millersville, and Hendersonville. Mansker Creek drains to the Cumberland River just downstream of Old Hickory Dam. The watershed is roughly 47 square miles, or 30,000 acres in area. Tennessee is a multicultural and historical state with much diversity in geography and culture. Tennessee was once divided into 3 sections: West, Middle, and East Tennessee. Throughout Tennessee are various bodies of water, such as creeks, lakes, and rivers. Some of these bodies of water include the Harpeth River, the Cumberland River, Chickamauga Lake, Manskers Creek, and Drake's Creek. At the top of the left of the image, you will see a red circle. Within that circle is a red X. X marks the exact spot I went looking for fossils. There are a variety of fossils and geodes, as well as clam and snail shells. As you can see, Mansker Creek runs all the way down to the Cumberland River and Old Hickory Lake. Here we see 3 fossils that were discovered in Mansker Creek: trace fossils, echinoderm fossils such as crinoids, and hormatoma fossils. The presence of certain creek fossil tells of the geographical history of Tennessee by revealing the food source for other animals that count them as a food source, giving us clues as to what nutrients are in the water which allows the life of these creatures to thrive, or once thrived. The first fossil we'll be looking at is the hormatoma. On the left, you can see the hormatoma as it is sketched, and on the right, you can see the picture of the closest thing I could find to a hormatoma. Since this is technically a snail shell, if it would have been fossilized, it would have been considered a hormatoma. Hormatoma fossils are freshwater gastropods located all around the U.S. and in different parts of the world. According to utsa.edu, gastropods have a variety of different diets. Some species, like abalones, scrape algae from rocks along the ocean floor. Others may cling to large marine plants, like kelp, and feed off of those. Still, others scavenge along the sea floor for bits of food. Hormatoma creatures fed mainly off of algae in the mud and dirt at the bottom of rivers and creeks. As per my observation as a small child, they also like to sunbathe. Hormatoma creatures like to bury themselves in the mud periodically in order to get algae in no more than an inch of mud at the bottom of the body of water that they are in. Next, we have trace fossils. On the right, you can see the picture of the trace fossil that I found in Mansker Creek. This one has some echinoderm fossils in it as well. And on the left, you can see the sketch of the trace fossil, where it says, "These are geological records of biological activity, including burrows, burrow castings, ripple grooves, tracks, and also scat." And I read that in another source. Trace fossils are exactly what they sound like. They are fossils that left a trace of what was going on in that space at that time. In the trace fossil I gathered from Mansker Creek, it appears that there are traces of echinoderm fossils inside. However, you can also see little burrows and cavities in the fossil formation. According to www.nps.gov, echinofossils, also known as trace fossils, are geological records of the activities and behaviors of past life. Some examples include rock evidence of nests, burrows, footprints, and even scat. These fossils are different from body fossils that preserve the actual remains of a body, such as shells or bones, like we saw in the hormatoma. Trace fossils aren't individual creatures, so no one knows what they eat. Imagine you took a 3-dimensional camera and took a picture of what was happening in a small space in a time long, long ago. And what is left behind are holes and tunnels, or burrows, and sometimes fossilized scat. Our next fossil is the echinoderms fossil. Echinoderms are starfish-like creatures. While they include things that do not look like starfish, such as sea cucumbers, they comprise of thousands of species, and a majority of them have gone extinct. Distantly related to the modern starfish, crinoids are filter-feeding animals that live detached to the sea floor. Stem segments are the parts usually found. The fossils I collected display what looks like a hollow cylinder. The echinoderm fossils I collected are basically broken off starfish arms. According to Britannica.com, echinoderms are any of a variety of invertebrate marine animals belonging to the phylum Echinoderma, characterized by a hard, spiny covering or skin. Echinoderms also feed on algae and underwater plant life as well. In order for these fossils to exist, there must have been algae in the water to provide a food source for these creatures. Algae needs three things to thrive: phosphorus, nitrogen, and sunlight. Since they are plants, they must be able to attain some sort of natural light in order to complete photosynthesis. All of this information tells us about the important history of what makes up the land of Tennessee, by allowing us to understand how marine life survived in different Tennessee water systems, as well as being able to discover the beauty of life frozen in time by fossilization.